what letting go actually feels like. Then doing a bit of transmission, sharing some ideas of what letting go could be like. And then reflection, and having you all connect deeply with your own experience of what might want to be let go of and how to do so. So that's going to be our progression this evening. And with that, I will hand it over to Teague.
Thanks. Sound is okay? So I was really excited when Eve invited me to join you all tonight, and especially on the topic of letting go, letting die in order to be reborn, letting go in order to receive. It's not simply just an act of release. There's actually incoming energy as well as we let go. So as Eve mentioned, we're going to begin the night with an investigation. And to do that, we're actually going to use the breath. So what we're going to do is investigate, as Eve said, what it feels like in the body, the felt experience of letting go in order to receive. And then as we progress through the evening, we'll talk and explore a little bit more in your own lives what that can mean. Okay. So to start, we're going to do this investigation based on the diaphragmatic breath. So as Eve and I were talking about, there's lots of different breathwork modalities out there. And so for those of you that have practiced any of them, I invite you to come with a beginner's mind. And for those of you that may be new to any kind of breathwork or diaphragmatic breathing, to bring an open mind. So I'd like to invite everyone just to take 2 or 3 breaths together now, and don't worry about breathing in a certain way, a right way or a wrong way. Just notice in your body how you receive the air and how the body moves to help you breathe in. Okay, so bringing the awareness to the body and taking a deep breath in and releasing. And again, noticing the body moving, taking another breath in and releasing. So what was that like? What did you notice in the body as you were breathing in? Any particular movement or sensation that you were feeling?
Belly goes out.
Expansion in the belly. Great.
But like up and out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like some things are moving up and some things are moving out.
Yeah, so simultaneous vertical.
Like a stretchy a little.
Yeah. Where did you feel the going up? What parts of the
Well,
body?
like from, I don't know if that's my diaphragm-ish, up, and then from belly down is out.
Okay, great. So chest, shoulders, moving up.
Yeah.
Great. So watching as everyone was breathing, I saw a lot going up. And so the shoulders and the chest, this can help us, this can help expand the capacity in the lungs to take more air in. But the actual mechanism that's bringing air into the body is down here in the diaphragm. And so vertical breathing doesn't actually get the air into the body. It's the horizontal breathing. So those that notice the expansion, as you were saying in the second half, and the expansion of the belly, is what's actually happening there is the contraction of the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a muscle. It's the only muscle in the body that actually flattens, becomes smaller when it contracts. All of our other muscles get bigger. And so this expansion, this extending of the abdomen and the belly outwards on the in-breath is actually helping the diaphragm contract flat, which pulls more air in. And there's a lot of benefits, aside from our practice of letting go, around the reduction of cortisol and stress hormones, filling the lungs with more air, so your vital lung capacity is at its max. So there's lots of benefits to breathing in this way. We're not going to really go into that too much tonight. We're really just going to focus on this feeling of breathing in this way. So again, just play around a little bit. I want to invite you to bring your awareness down to your abdomen. If it helps, perhaps you can place a hand or two right below your sternum and above the belly button. So this is kind of approximately where the diaphragm is. And we'll take another 2 breaths together, breathing in and trying to extend the abdomen out, almost as if you're trying to push the hand away from the body as you breathe in. Might help to close the eyes. Might help to visualize a balloon in your abdomen inflating on the in-breath. And as much as possible, try and keep the shoulders and the chest still. And for now, for these few breaths, really focus on extending outwards in the abdomen. Relaxing on the inhale, on the exhale, excuse me. And then releasing that breath, coming back to a natural breath. And if you had your eyes closed, coming back to open eyes. So what did you notice there? Any sensation or any difference from the first breath?
I noticed it go deeper, I could see more in each breath I took.
Great.
I think the first one I did the up and out, and this one more focused on the out.
Great. And when you were focusing on the out, was there any specific sensation that you were aware of?
Perhaps focusing on just pushing it a little
Yeah. So pushing is a word that came up. So what are we pushing against? So we'll come back to that. So in this type of breathing, it's really important that we learn to soften and let go of what we're holding on to in our abdomen in order to really allow the diaphragm to contract to its fullest point. And it's in that letting go, that releasing and that softening that we can explore and investigate this experience and what it feels like in the body to let go. So for now, for this practice that we're going to enter into, I'd like to invite you to just experience how this feels. What is it that you're letting go of in the body in order to allow the abdomen to extend and contract naturally? Okay? So any questions? Was everyone able to feel a horizontal breath and expansion down here before we move on? I see a question.
I have sort of an anatomical question.
Sure.
So obviously, this is not where the lung is. So when one is expanding that area, where's the breath going?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much. So, of course, the air is staying in the lungs. What we're doing is, through this extension of the abdomen, what we're doing is pulling the diaphragm more flat. So we're not sending the air anywhere but the lungs. What we're doing is supporting the mechanism that allows this vacuum to pull the air down in. So extending out contracts the diaphragm and sucks the air in. And what we're going to really focus, like laser focus in, is this moment of expansion. And in the practice, I'll invite you to strain a little bit, push a little bit harder than how you normally would, and see if there's an experience of letting go in there. Okay? Does that help answer?
Very much. Thank you.
Okay, great. So as we continue, you're welcome to keep your hands on your belly. You can take it down and go back, whatever works. Also, I'd like to invite anyone, if you feel comfortable and you'd like to lay down on the floor, that's also a really effective way of finding the diaphragmatic breath. Instead of pushing the hand out, you would be visualizing the hand pushing up towards the ceiling if you choose to do that. And feel free to get up and change positions as we practice. Okay? So we'll enter into our main practice now. So I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable, or leave them open and lower to the floor. Finding a comfortable seat, a straight back. Just checking that the jaw is relaxed, shoulders are relaxed. And from here we'll bring our awareness down into the abdomen and beginning to find this rhythm of extending out on the in-breath, pushing the hand away from the body if your hand is there, and then just relaxing on the out-breath, allowing the air to naturally release out of the body. And breathe in your own rhythm. It doesn't have to be coordinated with my directions. Breathing in, expanding, pushing the hand away. Exhaling, relaxing. On the next in-breath, noticing what it feels like to let the belly stick out a little bit. Perhaps right away we're feeling some resistance there, whether it may be physical, perhaps in the mind, not wanting the belly to hang out. Seeing if we can meet whatever's coming up with a sense of ease and compassion. As we continue this rhythm of expanding the in-breath, relaxing on the out-breath. Perhaps you may lose the rhythm. That's perfectly natural. We've been breathing for quite a few decades vertically. Perhaps the mind wanders away, becomes distracted by other sensations in the body. And we'll use that also as a practice of letting go, coming back to this cycle of extending on the in-breath, relaxing on the out-breath. For the next few breaths, really focusing in on that moment that you have to let go in order to allow the abdomen and the belly to extend. Perhaps for the next breath, exaggerating, pushing out a little bit harder, seeing if you can let go a little bit more on the inhale. Oftentimes we hear that it's the exhale where we let go. And in this practice, we're investigating what we need to let go of in order to take a deeper inhale. Where we may feel tension, tightness, or a block. And how we meet that moment. The sense of ease, allowing it to be here. If you'd like to work with a visualization of this balloon in the abdomen, filling up on the inhale. And again, what needs to be let go of in order to allow that balloon to extend even further with air? Continue breathing in this way, being curious and moving the awareness around the body to see if there's other areas that you may be feeling a softening, perhaps down into the pelvic floor, perhaps there's a releasing in the sides of the body or the back of the body. Everyone's going to have a different experience here, so just taking a few moments, practice, continuing this expansion on the inhale, this relaxation and grounding on the exhale. Feeling into this experience of letting go in order to receive the air to the body. And now relaxing the breath, returning back to a natural breathing rhythm. Taking a few moments to just be aware of the experience in the body right now. We've been breathing at the highest capacity of the lungs for a few minutes now, so perhaps feeling into the effect of the practice. Noticing what this focus on letting go in order to receive the air has resulted in the body. As we come to the end of this practice, returning back to open eyes, slowly allowing the light to return back to the awareness. So what we're doing here is really establishing the pathways in the brain, what it feels like to let go, the somatic experience of letting go, where there may be challenges, where there may be blocks, where it may come with ease. And so we're doing this practice with the breath so that we have these pathways and channels in the brain. So when we start looking at areas in our lives that we want to let go of, we have these pathways to help support that. And what better way to practice doing that than with the breath? So we'll transition now to exploring what this means for letting go in our life in a broader way.
Wow, thank you for that practice. Can I ask you one question before we move on? I know you know quite a lot about this. What else what can we look for in terms of diaphragmatic breath, in terms of the benefits for our overall mind, body, and our practice of meditation?
Great. So physically there's a lot. So I've already mentioned the reduction in the cortisol. So in the practice we reduce our cortisol by 50% with a 10-minute diaphragmatic breathing practice. So as what I like to call a 911. A lot of times when we sit down to practice, when things are really tough in life, just becoming aware of them isn't really helpful. Well, for me sometimes. But diaphragmatic breathing is kind of like an instant band-aid for me. Also, the pH balance of the body is brought back into stasis with this kind of breathing. And then the vagus nerve runs right through the diaphragm. And so this is, when we're breathing vertically, we're sending the signal to the brain fight or flight. We're actually putting ourselves into stress response when we breathe vertically. When we breathe horizontally, same nerve, we're sending the signal to the brain to rest and digest. And the beautiful thing is that we can do this in times of stress, and we can trick the brain into thinking it's calm. There's no, even we could be having an argument or someone cuts us off in traffic, and by breathing horizontally, we're able to stay present and calm, even in the midst of chaos.
Beautiful. And as many of you know, a lot of primary practices in Tibetan Buddhism and other forms of Buddhism, there's a lot of focus on the belly, right? And being in the belly as a stable place, and this really invites us there. And we think of some of the other breath work done in traditional Buddhist practices as a way to really help us focus. So hopefully you also got a bit of that. Before I go forward, I just wanted to say that I'm Ekman, and I'm really happy to be here. And I sometimes forget to introduce myself in the center, especially when I have flown home after 18 hours, as I did yesterday. I was teaching in Brazil last week. It was really beautiful and slightly still somewhere over some ocean. You know how it takes your body and mind a while to catch up. So, who here is it your first time at San Francisco Dharma Collective tonight? Welcome! Awesome. You're here for a very auspicious week. This is the 1-year anniversary of the San Francisco Dharma Collective in this form. Phoenix rising from the ashes, its own rebirth and birth story here. So really wonderful to celebrate that, all of us together here. And as a center, we really strive and endeavor to be a place where everyone can feel welcome and comfortable. And we do our best to kind of encourage and support that just in the community that is already here, but in just reminding us all, part of the work we do here together, often on Wednesday nights, is not just you listening to us in the front, but us really asking you to engage with one another and engage with us. And in so doing, just to keep in mind mindful speech and empathic listening. So maybe someone says something and you watch your mind go towards judgment. Just let it go, make some space, hold the belly as you just learned. Just inviting you to really be here in a place of openness and ease, and recognizing that we just don't know other people's lived experience in here, and doing our best to create an environment that's not harming and loving. How do you guys feel about that? On board? All right, you're in the right place. So we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about or prefacing letting go, and specifically identifying one area of our life that really might use a little letting go. Of course, there might be many, but we're going to invite you to choose one. And when we were reflecting on which each of one of us would choose for tonight, my top contender made its presence known quickly. So one thing I would love to release or loosen, surrender or let go is doubt. Anybody relate to that? And when I think about doubt, what I really start reflecting on is what it feels like at an embodied experience to have doubt. And doubt for me, when I pay attention to it, it's this really intense feeling of contraction. Like I no longer feel a robust confidence of being or spiritual confidence. It's like I'm just not sure. Gosh, I'm on borrowed time. Someone's going to find out, right? There's this kind of narrative, and there's embodied experience at the same time. And I think of the kind of the message that doubt has for me. And the message is something is wrong. Not quite certain what is wrong, but it's definitely wrong, but not sure quite how. And the nature of doubt is such that it really creates a question after each assertion. So maybe I need to do this. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe not. So it's like quicksand. The more you are engaging with doubt, doubt persists. And another sometime teacher here, Dave Smith, shared with me this wisdom on doubt. I said, Dave, what do you have on doubt for me? Man, I'm just tired. It's running me right now. And he said, you can't meet doubt on doubt's terms. You actually have to go somewhere else, right? Wherever that is. But don't try to engage with and get into some kind of war of, better ideas or confirming ideas and beliefs with doubt. It'll just take you down. And one of the other aspects I think of is, okay, well then what does help with doubt? And as with many practices, I think for me, the one that comes up is just making space around the doubt. So not trying to engage doubt and tell it that it's wrong and actually things are okay, but instead find the space for anything else other than doubt. Is there anything else other than doubt in this moment? Yeah, okay, there's sunlight. Oh, that's okay, there's sunlight. What else other than doubt is here? Well, actually, my body feels kind of more than just contracted. It feels okay, relatively healthy. So just thinking of whatever it is for us personally, when we're face to face with what we want to let go of, we already have a strategy, an idea. And then we think of what can we learn from these very persistent habits and patterns of thought and mind. What is the message for us? How long has it been there? And with doubt, there's other aspects I was thinking of sharing tonight that when I was doing my work of tracing back, I found that I didn't experience it in my earliest memories, maybe 5 or 6 year olds, didn't experience it in high school, don't remember it in college. It's like a more recent acquisition. But doubt, God, it's been there since the beginning. I feel like I recognize that embodied experience and kind of mental space from almost as long as I can remember. And so learning, like, what is the message here that I can learn from or take from? And then how can I let it, hopefully, release, let go, and subside? And I really am encouraged with it by the idea of doing so breath by breath. So not like, tonight I leave doubt-free. It'd be nice, it's possible. Highly unlikely, right? So what is it that we can learn at the moment-to-moment level of working with these kinds of what you could call obscurations, what you could call mental habits or patterns, what you could call just, that part of us that really gets enlivened, especially when we don't have enough sleep, when we have a lot of tasks, when we're far away from things that naturally comfort us. What can we do breath by breath to be with that? So that's a little bit of the content and context of what we hope to share. Any thoughts, questions, or reflections on that?
I was laughing when we were saying, let's be realistic with our expectations. At like 9 o'clock, I let go. We might not let go tonight. And I like what you were saying about breath by breath. I think it's so important to be the continuity of the practice when we're working with things like that. It doesn't just go away. And so the consistency of chipping away at it, exploring, investigating is really important.
Any thoughts or reflections on letting go of yourself?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've been looking at and exploring has been this idea of perfectionism. And noticing this kind of reoccurring pattern in my life of perfectionism actually paralyzing me, and it's holding me back from releasing my fullest potential, my fullest joy, my fullest offering, my gifts to the world. And for me personally, I can trace a lot of perfectionism back to being the youngest of 6 children, needing to be perfect in order to get attention, which in my young mind equated that to love, so that I had to be perfect in order to get love. And it's actually served me really well in a lot of different ways in my life. But also at this point in my life, I think, it's time to really look at what can I receive by letting go of this perfectionism. And as we were discussing, it's not actually perfectionism that's the problem. It's the belief that I'm not going to get love if I'm not perfect. That's the problem. I can't just stop. I was going to say doing things perfectly. So there is a pendulum swing there, right? I still need to produce things in a way that people understand, that I feel good about, but maybe it's not perfect and polished. And what I've been learning in the past couple weeks, specifically a couple really profound experiences where I have messed up, and I received so much love from my community, people coming around to support me. And it's just so ironic, because the one thing that I thought I needed to do to get love is actually pushing it away, and really letting go of that has allowed so much more in. So I'm really feeling the letting go.
Wow. Yeah, and as you say that, I think and reflect on the next phase of what we'll do this evening is with one another, about a guided meditation. And this practice of facing and being with and releasing, it's so wonderful when you're met by another person. Maybe not someone you know, maybe not even a dear friend, but to have that context of we are in community and in Sangha here. We're practicing together for our own benefit and for the benefit of everyone in this room, and then how that radiates out into all the communities that we touch and all the communities we don't even know. So really keeping in mind this practice of doing the investigation for our own well-being, for our well-being, and then the incredible ripples out from there. As some of you were here, we did the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life last year, chapter by chapter, which was our our hardcore training on being compassion warriors. And it starts, right? It's actually start local, think global. So we have to start by building and forging our own capacity to let go. To be able to let go also with others. I mean, the things that we hold against and kind of in our grudges and our expectations about others, how much more peace would we have without those? I mean, tons, metric tons more peace. So we don't start by thinking, man, I wish I was less judgmental about this way that my certain family member always is. Okay, how about we start with ourselves? Then we try. This is all gearing up for the holidays. Practice here, right? So this idea, again, of, this will be focused on ourselves, but the intention, the motivation is still for all of us. So what we're going to do is, I do want you to find a partner to sit near. We'll start actually with a quiet reflection and meditation, and then one by one, you will be responding to questions that are put out about letting go. So first, find someone and be able to face them in a way that's comfortable, where you're eye to eye. Maybe introduce yourself if you don't know that person. Raise your hand if you don't have a partner. Does anybody not have a partner? Raise your hand. Groups of three do not work. So does anybody not have a partner? Are you guys a group of three? Yes? Three does not work really for this. Is there anybody who's missing a partner? Okay. We'll do our best with that. So please just close your eyes and come into a sense of your own breath. And feel into the experience of your body sitting on the floor or sitting on the chair. And try into another of these diaphragmatic breaths. Gently pushing that edge of how far we can go with the inhale. And grounding and relaxing in the exhale. And now I want you to shift away from the body and breath into the mind. And to reflect for a moment on whether there's something that you would like to choose to let go of. Something maybe you've been trying to let go of but keeps re-emerging. Or something that feels so comfortable, but you see how it's holding you back. Maybe there is a swirl of ideas. See if you can choose one that feels simple, one that feels clear enough that you can really investigate for a little while. It might be helpful to consider the last time you experienced this challenge, this difficult emotion, this circumstance. And then gently with still holding on to an idea and memory. Become aware that there's someone in front of you, also considering what they'd like to let go of. And whether you know this person or not, just connect to this shared motivation of letting go. And consider an intention of being supportive for this letting go process, for yourself and this being in front of you. And gently blinking the eyes open. And I will ask a number of questions, and you will repeat them one by one. So when you repeat them, try to do so in a low enough voice that your partner can hear you, but not so loud that it becomes too difficult to hear amid all the noises in the room. So the person who goes first will be the person who is wearing more colors. Once you've identified that, so the person who is wearing more colors will be the first person who is responding to the prompts. And the listener, in this case, you'll be listening and noticing what you're hearing. And as you listen, you can do so with empathy and with caring, but not so much engaging as though it were a conversation. Noticing what it's like as a listener to receive, to hear. Notice what it's like in your own body as you're listening. And as the person's speaking, really keep your speaking close to your experience. Not in order to engage or entertain this person, but as though you were doing an kind of audio journal. Just saying what is really true for you. You don't need to explain or elaborate your life story. This is really a time to reflect. So the person who is beginning with the most color, the first question is, what does it feel like in your body when you're experiencing this thing you would like to let go of? Please begin speaking, and I'll let you know when to wrap up this first question. So finish up with this first question. And then I want you to answer this question. What is it like in the mind, or in the quality of the mind, when you're experiencing this thing you would like to let go of? And finishing up this question. And the next question is, What helps when you're experiencing this thing you would really like to let go of?
I think like it's a lot of things that I get
Finishing up here. And then considering for a moment, if you were free from this thing you would so like to let go of, what could you receive? What would be more available for you? Finishing up with this song. And for the final phase of this first round, for the first person, the question is, if you were free from this thing you'd like to let go of, how would you like to be in the world? What would you like to offer?
instead of the meta.
And finishing up, and closing your eyes for a moment. Closing your eyes and just becoming aware of the person in front of you and the person who was speaking. Invite yourself to be in a place of receiving. And the person who was listening. Find the natural compassion and care kindness towards this person and what was just shared. And through your breath, consider sending a wish that this person could be free, that they could let go. And in this way, create a beautiful cycle here of receiving and extending. Notice the difficulty of receiving. Notice the beauty of receiving. Notice any challenge or difficulty in extending. Notice the beauty in extending, compassion, care, kindness.
GPS signal lost.
And gently coming back to one or two deep belly breaths. And gently blinking our eyes back open. And now the listener becomes the speaker. And remember again to really be speaking from your experience and have the listener be really rooted in your felt experience, not so much a conversation as a witnessing. First person, what does it feel like in your body when you're experiencing this which you would like to let go of? Finishing up, and then reflecting on this next question. What's in the mind, or what is the quality of the mind when you're experiencing that which you would like to let go of? Finishing up here, and then considering what helps when you're experiencing this thing which you would like to let go of. finishing up your last thoughts, and then reflecting on if you were free from this thing that you would most like to let go of, what could you receive? What would be more available? Finishing your last thoughts here. And consider now, again, if you were free from that which you would like to let go of, what would you like to offer to the world? What is the quality of being you'd like to bring to the world? Thoughts and come back into an awareness of the body, gently closing the eyes. And the person who is speaking, invite a quality of receiving, openness. And the person who is listening, invite a quality of extending compassion and care. Consider what was shared with you and connect to this desire that this person could be free, could let go, and send that aspiration. With the breath drawing in and extending, and as the receiver with the breath drawing in, receiving. And then returning to 2 or 3 deep belly breaths. Extending and pushing. Releasing. And gently opening your eyes and thanking your partner. And coming back into the main space of the room. powerful to be here in the front of the room and just not listen in like a creepy weirdo. Just to feel and notice what was being said and exchanged. And yeah, thank you all so much for that. We'd love to hear some reflections or questions on that process. What was it like to not only reflect, but be really witnessed in that reflection? Any insights you would like to share? Yes, in the back.
I appreciated that at no point during that guided discussion did you have us speak to what we were letting go.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that appreciation, and I appreciate that as well. I think, yes, there's a time and a place for that, but it's not in an hour and a half long time together. Yeah. And if you spoke to it, no problem. That's great. That's just not necessarily where we're all at on a Wednesday night. Anybody else?
I think I was surprised at how stuck I was in it. Like it wasn't so much of this like, oh, I'm so glad we got to talk about it. Like now I'm ready to let go. Like that was great, you know?
Yeah.
It was much more of like, this is a lot stickier than I think I realized.
Yeah.
And that was really impactful.
Yeah. In the body, in the mind, both.
Everything, even like the language to describe it.
Right.
And like seeing somebody's reaction to it, that kind of like raw intimacy of that vulnerability. I think
Yes.
was really, yeah, it was a very dense experience.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Well, I have been watching this program called Why We Hate. So this was so beneficial to me because I thought it was the polar opposite of that. So rather than talk about this apart, this whole exercise was so helpful because it was talking about connecting.
Yeah.
I just listened and I just felt like a powerful sort of connection or just being or not coming with any of my stuff, but just being a creative person and then feeling this again.
Thank you. Yeah. And I love that both of you in some ways are speaking to that vulnerability, right? And it's interesting because what gets in the way of vulnerability? Our belief like we have to kind of be a certain way or protect ourselves and all that self stuff. It's really, there's something so naked, right, about being seen and sharing. Even if you would just be seen and sharing about what you had for dinner still with a stranger could feel a little exposed, let alone. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes?
I think for me, the first thing that came up when you talk about let go was like, I don't even know what that would mean, what that would look like. I mean, yes, the first reflection was like, what is that? How would that, because in my experience, the closest I can get to letting go is the befriending, like being with. And then once I touched on that, then there was like, yeah, this and this and this, but then I went deeper and there was this core piece. And then once I touched that, I was here with my friend and I had just had this experience where like everybody looks so beautiful and like, oh my gosh, all these people here, and I just wanted to see, do I know anybody, but I don't have my glasses on. But it's like, I don't know, it's just like, so I'm not quite sure what this means, but just like all of us exploring these together, and there is something about just being here. It's just like, wow. So it is a lot of gratitude.
Yeah, wonderful. So did you get an embodied sense at all of letting go through that?
I got a lot of expansion. Energy, life, heart, but not in a like in a live way,
Mm-hmm.
with ease.
Right, beautiful.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately many of us confuse letting go with emotional suppression, right? Like, oh, I should let that go, I'm just going to push it really far away. It's kind of the same, right? And it's not. Not only because physiologically that would be different, like we would have more stress at holding something down, but because it doesn't give us that spaciousness. And it's wonderful that you had to question it and then investigate. And I think, again, in the Eastern and Western approach, this reflection or learning to question, well, what is it that's so hard to experience? Is it really fixed? Is it really this solid thing? Is it ever not there? Is it porous? And we start to kind of poke holes in whatever that experience is that feels so dense. It's not so dense. And then that gives way to space. And it's always over and over, I'm just blown away at the beautiful bridge between our conceptual mind and our experiential beingness, right? And our conceptual mind, we don't want to like get rid of it, it's all bad. Absolutely not. It gives us so many incredible ways to point out where we're stuck, to help us make a living, cut wood and carry water and whatnot. And then also the experiential mind can really know where to go. So I like your description of that. Yeah. Teague, what do you think about those?
What was coming to mind is room to breathe. Give it room to breathe. And also how important it is to say that in order to let go, we have to accept first. And so I like this, investigating what is it that I need to be with? What do I need to give room and spaciousness? And also I think it's important to say that acceptance doesn't mean that it's okay. That we might accept something and it's still painful, especially the painful things. But we have to accept that it's here, we have to allow it to be here before we can even consider letting it go.
Yeah, and you said that, you're like, I know befriend,
Yeah.
but what's more than befriend? Right, because do we want to just befriend all the difficulties, or do we want to maybe find something even bigger around that? It's a question, I don't know the answer. But yeah. Yes? Yes.
For me, holding on it gives me a weight, which gives me a presence, like on the sidewalk, I'm here because I have this weight of something I'm not letting go of. And what I realized in contemplating letting go is I might fly away like a balloon. Like I won't have anything ample enough to keep me grounded. And I'm struggling with that.
Yeah, that is a beautiful question and wondering. In this practice, was there a moment of it, or was there the tension of
The breathing was the moment, but the thoughts stayed. You've got to be present. You're not here if you don't hold on to those thoughts.
Wow. Wow. That's such a great place to dig into a bit, right? Because also that spaciousness of flying away, that can be really a wonderful experience. So it's like, what's the fear of dissolving? And 2 weeks ago we did here the Feeding Your Demons practice, in which we're all invited to dissolve. And for some people it's like, yeah, I'm gone. I'm just gonna become, fodder for this demon feeding, as it were. And for others it's like, oh my God, no. Right? Like, no, I want to be here.
It's defines who you are,
right?
And you're taking that definition away.
Right. And even if you pull apart all the pieces of, who you are, and you're like, I know I don't want that one, don't want that one, nope. You really want a sense of freedom, and yet still that familiarity and comfort of solidity. Really good noticing. Thank you.
For me, it was more interesting to see the development with the person that I spoke. Because starting with a negative view of oneself, and then it came out the view it's not that the first thing, like the fear and the negativity in many ways,
Yeah.
but really I could sense and feel the goodness and the grandiosity of that person. So,
Beautiful. So witnessing
yeah.
their transformation from like, I'm in this stuck, terrible place, I don't want to be this way, to here's all the time. Yeah. Awesome. What was it like to be witnessed in that?
I think it was like very mutual, like deep eye contact and like just really loving gaze of
Yeah.
acceptance.
Yeah.
And no response.
Right.
Because everyone's like, oh, I relate, or like, this is what you could do, or try this. And it's just like, just
Yeah.
nodding, almost for moments of not uncomfortability, but
Yeah.
like, it's like, okay, you're cute, like, you know,
Yeah.
respond. And so this is really just nice,
Yeah.
connective space to just be vulnerable and like through your answers more and more break down that vulnerability and open up, and also like you like the words of like the sensation of the body, and break down these barriers that way, not just verbally. Like for me, like I revert to like the storyline of everything, so like go beyond the storyline, go deeper than that. So it was a nice exercise to describe in different ways and different sensations and different experiences.
Yeah, beautiful. And you know, it's true, not being able to respond and be like, it's okay, I do that too. Like it's actually kind of awkward, but it's really freeing, right? And we can be an empathic presence. And then to be able to give compassion, right? Like a compassion that is really developed in empathy of, even if this is the first time I've seen this person, I kind of know them a little bit. And from that place, wish for them to be free.
And it felt for me that I could give it more genuinely by not using my words.
Right.
It's
Yes.
okay, you know, like those basic words, they even break that down of like, I can show it, I can like, there's just a deeper, I can send those, that emotion, that support in different ways.
Yeah. You know, all of our, or many of our practices of the four immeasurables, right, of loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity, we're bringing someone else to mind. Right? They're not in front of us, but we imagine as though they were in front of us. So this is like training wheels, right? They really are in front of us. And in some ways that just makes it so rich, because we really know at least some part of what their struggle is. And we can touch into that just desire for them to be free. And we don't necessarily actually have to so-called do anything about it. Right? Our compassion can feel fatiguing if it's coming from a doing place. I just have to do something. And I think about this a lot amid our climate catastrophe and the very real visibility of that in the skies right now with the smoke, and knowing about how many people are losing their homes. And there's a feeling of overwhelm. Like, what on earth can we do? It's too late. And there's still a capacity to have deep compassion for the loss. Right, as though we were sitting in front of someone or sitting in front of our beautiful planet and just saying, I love you and I care. And so how do we feel like an active sense of compassion and like we are doing something just in that very practice of bringing them to mind. So like, these skills are transferable, and I hope that is a way to consider them if they were useful.
I think it's really beautiful what you were describing about this felt experience that you two are sharing without having proper dialogue, and this area that brings to light that we can sit on the cushion and practice loving kindness and compassion all day long, and we can swing the pendulum in the other direction and go out into the world and take action. But what you guys described is a really beautiful in-between that I think that we can all practice in our dialogue day to day with people, the cashier at the store. Like maybe just take a deep breath in and say, may you be well. You don't say it out loud, but that heart energy will be felt. And the application of that practice is really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Other thoughts or reflections? Yeah.
I was surprised at how uncomfortable I was about the idea of letting this thing go, and how big of, how huge of part of my identity it is, and the whole concept of dissolving just like feeling like I would disappear if I would let go of this thing. And it's become such a part of who I am and what I do for a living that I can't even imagine of letting it go. But then as I was thinking about it a little bit more honestly, it makes me feel safe.
Yeah.
And if I let go of this, then I have to risk something new. And if I risk something new, I could fail, or I could open up my world even much wider than it feels right now. So yeah, the concept of dissolving was really interesting and surprising. And maybe it's time to risk.
We have just the poem for you coming up. What a beautiful reflection on that, and that piece of, it's interesting. Another question could be, what about this works, right? You were saying that the perfectionism has worked, right? And I don't know what works about doubt. I got to do some more investigating. Something must work. It is hanging out, right? And it's, I think it's really powerful to notice what's keeping us there. Yeah, and with identity, it's interesting, when we are losing something we believe to be so intrinsically part of us, there might be a period of grief. That the letting go, right? Just like a true letting someone pass or feeling the loss, there might be some grief with that letting go. Yeah.
And I think too, really focusing on the idea of what are we receiving in, and taking our time with that, so it might be scary and blurry to let go. And I think that's why part of this practice is visualizing the feeling of what it would be like to either receive after you've let go. What is it that we receive in its place? And also, what is the offering that we can make to the world in letting go? So, yeah, it's the stepping stones.
We have time for a couple more reflections or thoughts. Yeah.
There was a moment when I was the receiver where a realization came, and then I felt that too. And we both smiled. That was wonderful. And then when I was the speaker, it was remarkable to see how something that I was talking about that I had a lot of difficulty with, was trying to push out, seeing the way that was received in such a caring way, and that there was a presence for it. I felt that, and I was like, whoa, I can probably find that version of what I just felt you doing in me. And maybe that's the optimistic part of it.
Yeah.
That I can cultivate. But I felt like a little seed of that growing and working with the thing I wanted to let go. Something that I didn't think would be, I wasn't even aware I could feel or relate to that.
Beautiful. Yeah. To effectively see mirrored in front of you what receiving would be like. What would it be like to be okay with that thing, accepting, and yeah, that is wonderful. All these different layers you guys are bringing up. It's so wonderful to hear. I saw your hand.
Yeah, so there was, I was so wrapped in my own, when I spoke, the story, but when I listened, I realized how my story was so not unique. And the passion was just like, oh. And that was really, really healing and connecting.
Yes.
Gosh, let's just get out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a beautiful harmony between what you both shared too, of that recognition of interdependence or non-separateness, and including that as part of the experience. Beautiful. And I saw your hand too. Was that? Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like we went into this realm of like, oh, it was so good, but I'm talking about something that's uncomfortable.
Good.
I noticed that when I was like being asked like, what was it like in the body, what was it like in the mind, to speak it, I got right back into feeling it, and it was so strong. And then when it was like, what helps, you know, it was all the things that are what help, or like, it's things that are pretty somatic and connecting. And I'm just really interested in how quickly languaging something, narrating it, can make the experience happen all over again. Because it's pretty disturbing, you know? Like, what did it feel like? It's really agitated and constricted, and like, oh, I'm agitated and constricted. And like, I was really curious about that and how to allow more space there.
Yes.
That is a compassionate practice I can offer myself. Or even like have people, because actually people have reflected this back at me, like, are you mad right now? I'm like, no, I'm just telling a story. You know, but that there's something very real to that.
Yes.
Very real to that.
Was there a, and thank you for sharing that. I know it's hard, everyone's like, I was like floating on lotus place. And you're like, I wish I had that experience, right? But was there a memory that came with it for you? Or was it just the words?
Oh, that's a good question. In this particular case, it was more like a body memory of like, kind of like an accumulation of all the times that I felt that.
Right.
And it was just at the gate, like, here I go.
So I don't know specifically, there's a lot of wonderful research on language and words, and definitely even the words we choose say so much about our current mind state and mindset. However, I know more about memory and memory as an elicitor of emotion. And so when we have this experience of memory, our body doesn't know the difference as to that happening right now, or that is happening just in this kind of thought-provoked way. And so physiologically speaking, it makes sense that you would be feeling it. There's that reliving. And I do think that that's also a wonderful opportunity for us, because usually this happens in the real world, where we don't get a lot of access to trying out space or compassion or grounding. And all of those could be options. So making space, you know, finding ground on your seat, or finding ground in sound, or a neutral place in the body. And I would invite you, uncomfortable though it is, to consider it like a laboratory, right? Like, here's this uncomfortable experience, I can easily elicit it. What is it like to dissipate it in a different way? And that really becomes just really empowering, honestly, so we can try things out. Thank you. We're going to move towards a poem that I think is beautiful for this evening. And this is by the poet John O'Donohue, some of you may know. And this poem was sent to me this morning, and I had forgotten how much I love it, and immediately sent it to Teague, and I was like, well, this is for tonight. So it was an auspicious poem roundabout, and it's called For a New Beginning. In out-of-the-way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. For a long time it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promises that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered, would you always live like this? Then the delight when your courage kindled, and out you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again with the energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning that is at one with your life's desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure, hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you. It is called For a New Beginning.
So we'll conclude the night with a dedication. So inviting you to find a comfortable posture. And taking these final moments together, feeling the presence of the community here, and reflecting on the evening, the experience of breathing, letting go in order to receive a deeper breath, the sharing of our vulnerabilities and our experiences in letting go. And let's dedicate this energy that we've been cultivating tonight to these intentions of letting go. And in doing so, that we may thin the veil of separation and see that we really are connected. May this Sangha and the work that we've been doing here tonight be a nucleus for introspection, community, and peace. May we and all beings be happy and free from suffering.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you all for being here. There are so many awesome things coming up here. Since so many of you haven't been here before, let me first start off by saying you are here literally out of the generosity of others. This place is volunteer run. The volunteers organized, they decided how to make this place happen, and they invite teachers lucky enough like us to be here. So your donations really help, and anything you can give tonight would be wonderful. If you want to learn about even becoming a deeper part of our community and volunteering, you can talk to me. No? Pamela?
Sure.
Pamela?
I'll talk to you. You can, yep, we can totally talk.
Volunteering here is really awesome. Do you guys want to highlight any of the unbelievable many upcoming events, including the Death Sangha tomorrow?
Yeah, so once a month, usually on the third Saturday night, we have Death Sangha, and it's a 2-hour meditation on death, an incredibly powerful practice. This week for Halloween, we're doing a special Halloween edition of Death Sangha, extended edition. It's going to be, I think, 2.5 or 3 hours tomorrow night at 7:30. If you haven't been to a Death Sangha before, this would be a really good first one to come to. There'll be a lot of people there for the first time tomorrow night. And then on Friday, we're having a Vajrayana teaching, also a meditation on death. I don't know anything else about it because the way they've put it is the teaching will be revealed here on Friday night. So I'm definitely going to be here for that. And then after a week of meditating on letting go and death, on Saturday night we're having a party. So the art that you see on the walls was all done by the volunteer leadership of the Sangha, some of whom are here tonight. And on Saturday night we'll have our 1-year anniversary party, plus the Sangha members who did the art will talk a little bit about their practice and a little bit about their art. So after a lot of deep practice this week, we'll have a little light kind of release experience on Saturday with the party. Please sign up for our mailing list if you want to be kept in the loop about what's happening here. And thank you both very much for that teaching. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. And, sorry, last thing. I'll be here next Wednesday, as usual, back to ethics. But on Saturday, will you tell folks about what's happening?
So Saturday on Baker Beach in the early afternoon, I'll be creating some large-scale sand art in the form of a walking labyrinth, which I call mandalins, so half mandala, half labyrinth. So come on out and take a walk. It's a contemplative practice and a walking meditation.
What does early afternoon mean?
High tide's at 1:30, so before then.
11 or 12?
Like 12, between 12 and 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Baker Beach, 25th, and the ocean.
You'll see.